then how did you move from oil to appraising?
Well, I was still building with my uncle part-time. I worked out at the refinery 8 hours, and then I'd work another 4 building.
Oh,
And I got to thinking one day that there's got to be a better way to make a living. So I started looking around, and about that time, one of the inspectors for FHA was came and inspected the house that we were building at that time. And I got to talking with him, and he said, "Why don't you put your application in FHA?" I said, "What do they pay?" And he told me, and I said, "Hell, that's about what I'm making now."
and
And
not
working
nearly as
2
hard.
jobs. So I went down and put in my application, and a couple of days later I went to work for FHA, and I worked 12 years there. That's where I learned to appraise.
Okay. And at the end of 12 years, you started
Started Elliott
Elliott
Associates.
Well, at the end of 12 years, he had reached the top for the state, but he was the acting director, right?
Yeah,
acting director
for the state.
for the
of Wyoming.
state.
Yeah,
State. But
And they
for
didn't.
FHA.
and why weren't you named director?
I was a Democrat, and it was a Republican administration.
So they didn't make you the director.
Nobody got to be a director. You got to be acting director.
Got it. And so that's when you said, maybe I'll just do this for myself.
Yep.
And who did you start with? Did you start with the boys?
Oh no, just by
No.
myself.
Mom was his secretary. Marie was his secretary.
Yeah.
She
All
typed
right.
pretty well.
Yep.
And then how long before you were joined?
Well, it got to where I probably was less than 6 months that I was probably 3 months behind in my work because there was so goddamn much work. So I called. Lonnie was out at
Pacific
Wendy,
Power?
or Washington,
Oh, yeah.
and I called him. He was working for Texaco in the personnel department there. And I called him and I asked him if he'd like to learn to appraise. He said, "How soon?" And they moved real quick.
Nice.
Yep.
And who was next to join?
Bill, when he came home from the Navy, he went, or from college, he came right into Elliott and Associates.
Okay. And then it was several years before
John came.
John
Yeah.
came from Denver.
Yeah, John moved, Betty moved from Denver. Keith Lacko
In
came in, and we
in
trained probably another
91 maybe.
4 or 5 guys to appraise. That after they got their certificate to appraise, why they Bill's real good friend moved to Idaho.
Gary Lake, Bill's friend,
Yeah.
trained at our office and then moved to Idaho.
But there was just so much work that,
You couldn't keep up.
I even certified.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was a good living.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice to work for yourself.
That when I first started my business, I was familiar with all of the bank people all over the state. And so before I quit FHA, I contacted all of them. And I said, "I'm going to start my own appraisal business. Would you like to give me some business?" And that's where it started.
Perfect.
And I had I'd go up into the basin country, Cody and Powell and Thermopolis and all over up there, and come home with 50 to 60 appraisals, houses that I'd been through to appraise, and looked at all the comps, and then I'd come home and write them up.
Wow.
And it just, I more than doubled my income the first year. So it worked out.
It did.